Hello and welcome. I'm Jon Garlick and I'm here with Captain Joey Stone, and this is Calhoun County's Most Wanted. Joey.
John, how you doing?
Excellent. How are you?
I'm well.
Well, your folks were well this week too. Let's take a look at the count. How many we get?
We got one this week, looks like.
Up to 5,190. Old Brooklyn Yates.
That's right.
What did she do? Do you know what she did?
I don't know what she did.
She did something.
She did something to get arrested.
She did, so she's in jail. So you were telling me off camera before we started that May's a busy month.
It is.
What's going on in May?
Well, graduation. All the schools will be graduating in May, so we'll have seniors out on the road, a lot of them going on senior vacation, people taking trips. So we just, want to remind everybody, be careful, be safe, taking those road trips, and any extracurricular activity that you may be doing, just be responsible.
And parents need to, just because their kids are out of high school now, maybe they're 18 years old, they need to be careful where they're going.
Oh, absolutely.
Just sending them down to Panama City all by themselves, unsupervised, just because they're high school graduates and 18. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We did it, so it'll be all right, you reckon?
I was a different kind of 18-year-old. I'd already sailed up the coast of New England. I knew how to fix things.
That's right.
Yeah, okay. So, well, anyway, May's a busy month, so everybody be careful. And stay with us, because we're going to be back with a very important guest in the first half of our lineup here on Calhoun County's Most Wanted. And welcome to this week's edition of Calhoun County's Most Wanted. The first half of our lineup brought to you by Abe's Ace Bail Bonds. Abe's Ace Bail Bonding, 256-831-0074. First up in our first half, Myra Coleman. Miss Coleman, last known to be living in Anniston. She's wanted for failure to appear on possession of a controlled substance. Take a look at Bradley Hallman. Mr. Hallman, last known to be living in Anniston. He's wanted on a probation violation for possession of a controlled substance ×3. And this is Byron McDonald. Mr. McDonald, last known to be living in Gadsden, wanted on probation violation for use and possession of drug paraphernalia. And meet Mickey Coggins. Miss Coggins, last known to be living in Anniston. She's wanted on a probation violation for use and possession of a controlled substance. And we'd like you to take a look at Shanronda Caver. Miss Caver, last known to be living in Anniston. She's wanted on failure to appear for a probation revocation. And that's it for the first half of the lineup. Stay tuned for the second half later in the show. Welcome back. We hope you saw somebody in that half of the lineup. You might know where they are. If you do, call Captain Joey Stone. You call, he hauls. We are here with a very special guest, Laura Miller, Executive Director of CASA of the Cheaha region.
Of the Cheaha region,
How
yes,
many
sir.
different regions does CASA have?
Okay, so CASA is a national organization.
Ooh, they've got lots of regions.
We're in all the states, and then we're broken down into, of course, individual counties within our state. And so CASA of the Cheaha region serves St. Clair and Calhoun County.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah.
So do we have like 30 CASAs in Alabama?
Unfortunately, no. We're about half of that.
Okay.
But we're growing, so we hope to be in every county. But right now, our focus is the Cheaha region, Calhoun and St. Clair County.
And tell us what CASA is.
So CASA stands for Court Appointed Special Advocates for Children, and we are court appointed to cases of child abuse and neglect through our court system. So essentially, when a kid comes into care, when DHR has to intervene in a child's life, when the court has to intervene, the state does a really good job about putting a lot of people in these children's lives. So that child gets a caseworker. Well, that DHR caseworker could have 30 kids or more. They're given more right now. Yes, sir. They could have 45 children. They're given an attorney. We have a lot of good GALs in our area, but those attorneys could have a lot of children. And then they change placements all the time. They're given several different foster parents, several different counselors, several different everything. And then this child goes to court, and that judge needs a full picture of what's going on in this child's life. And so CASA is a solution to bring a full picture approach to our judge, so that judge can make well-informed decisions for our children. And so at CASA, we give our children a volunteer. So this is somebody from our community that doesn't have a specific background. You don't have to be a caseworker. You can be a teacher. You can be an electrician. You can be a nurse. Volunteers come from all walks of life. We screen them, we train them, and then we match them with children or families, and the children have been victims of abuse and neglect. And then that volunteer has a one-on-one relationship with that child that those caseworkers and other parties on the case just aren't able to give them. And so our volunteers work one-on-one with those children. They go to their school, they talk to their teacher, they go to grandma's house, they go to aunt's house, they go to doctor's visits, they have access through a court order to medical records, to school records, to everything. And that way, when the ISP team or the courts team or the court is making decisions on that child, we have all the information there.
That's pretty amazing.
It is.
And so these volunteers, when they're involved in that child's life, they're probably doing reports and progress notes and stuff like that. So you and your staff review those to keep these volunteers in line and help them find the resources they need?
Absolutely. So I direct the program, and then we also have advocate coordinators, and I also have an assistant director, Cynthia Brown, and we have Shay Campbell and Katie Hurst, and their employees, and they are essentially the case managers. So they manage the cases and the volunteers. And the volunteers are the ones that are working one-on-one with the children. They're the boots on the ground, but us as staff, we kind of keep things moving and manage those cases.
So CASA is a nonprofit organization?
It is.
And how do you get your funding then?
A lot of our funding comes from a VOCA grant through the state of Alabama. And that's the Victims of Crime Act and money through there. And then everything else, we rely on individual donations.
That's amazing. Now, how many kids do you have in your program?
So when I first started in 2018, we were serving about 20 children. Last year in 2022, we were up to 320 children, but unfortunately there are probably about 400 children in Calhoun County last year that needed a CASA that DHR had custody of. But to be able to serve every child, we need more volunteers. We don't have enough volunteers, and then we also need more funding, so it's hand in hand. We need more funding, we need more volunteers to be able to serve all of our children.
And this, of course, as a nonprofit, you can take individual donations, right?
Absolutely. We will take your tax-deductible gift
There you
before I
go.
leave here today, John.
And Joey loves to volunteer
And
for
Joey,
things.
yes.
Yeah. So if Joey wanted to volunteer, how would he do that?
He would make a fantastic volunteer. So we need more men as volunteers. We have a lot of young men that come into care, and then they get a volunteer like me. Most of our volunteers are women. And of course we do the best that we can, but having a man that could relate to this young man, and not only the young man, but the fathers that also need a role model, we need more of those. So if you wanted to be a volunteer, you're in luck because we have a training starting in June, so that's next month. We could enroll you. You would go to cheahacasa.org. There's a button to click volunteer. Click volunteer. It's going to send me your name and your phone number and your address, your email, and I'm going to send you an email and let you know how to get started. You'll fill out an application. You'll fill out some references that we can call and check on those, and then we get you enrolled into CASA 101. And then you come in, we tell you everything there is about CASA, just to see if it's the right fit for you and that you want to proceed. Because when you commit to CASA, you're not just committing to us, you're committing to a child. The purpose of CASA is to be the consistent. We're not the changing school. We're not the changing anything. We're the consistent person. So come to CASA 101, make sure that's a good fit for you. We'll go ahead and get your background screens, your DHR screens, and your interview, and set you up for a 30-hour training course. When you're done with that 30-hour training course, you go in front of one of our judges, Judge Locker, Judge Wright, or Judge Minor in St. Clair County. You raise your right hand and swear that you're going to do the best by these children. Then we match you with a family.
Wow, that's a lot of training, 30-hour training. Is that all at once, or is that like at night?
It's a lot of training, but we're not asking you to commit over the weekend or a couple of weeks. We're asking you to make a really big commitment, and it's a hard ask. Going into a case of child abuse and neglect, it's a big deal, and we want you to be prepared for that. And that 30 hours, sometimes it's hybrid. Sometimes we do some in person, and another is on your own online. But most of that's going to be done at night in our office in person, and you get to hear me talk for 30 hours.
Wow.
If today isn't enough for you.
That's an amazing level of training. So we're going to take a break here in just a minute. So before we do that, reiterate how people volunteer. Where do they go and what do they have to?
To volunteer, go to cheahacasa.org, click donate. It's conveniently located, It's conveniently located next to the donate button.
So
but
we know where you're headed.
there's two things,
donate.
okay? There's a donate button and a volunteer button, and we need them both. both equally as important. Click the volunteer button. That's going to send me information. One of our team members will reach out to you about how to get going.
And I'm sure there's an intensive background check with Montgomery and all that good stuff.
Absolutely. Criminal background screens, sex offender searches, the DHR screening, and then that one-on-one interview where we're screening you there as well.
Excellent. Well, we're going to take a break. When we get back, we'll talk more about that, and we're going to have the second half of our lineup. So stay with us here on Calhoun County's Most Wanted. And welcome to the second half of our lineup. This half brought to you by A1 Freedom Bail Bonding. A1 Freedom Bail Bonds, 256-236-7888. First up this half, Freddie Dodson. Mr. Dodson, last known to be living in Anniston. He's wanted on a motion to revoke a bond for theft of property first. And this is Octavius Hughes. Mr. Hughes, last known to be living in Anniston. He's wanted on a failure to appear for theft of property second. And meet Tamika Williams. Miss Williams, last known to be living in Anniston. She's wanted on a failure to appear for attempting to possess a forged instrument second. This is Terrence Smith. Mr. Smith, last known to be living in Anniston. He's wanted on a probation violation for possession of a controlled substance. Meet John Champion. Mr. Champion, last known to be living in Weaver. He's wanted for a probation violation for fraudulent use of a credit and debit card ×4. And that's it for our lineup this week. If you know the whereabouts of any of these folks, please give Crime Stoppers a call. That number, 1-833-251-7867. Welcome back. We hope you saw somebody in that half of the lineup. You know where they are. If you do, call Crime Stoppers, call the Sheriff's Office. You call, they haul. We are here with Laura Miller, Executive Director of CASA, here in the Cheaha region, St. Clair and Calhoun County. Is that right?
St. Clair and Calhoun, yes, sir.
Interesting. So nobody for Talladega and Cherokee? And
We have an MOU with Talladega County, but we currently have no cases in Talladega County.
But you've got how many? You said you had almost 300 and some odd kids?
320 children.
And how many volunteers do you have right now?
About 65
Wow.
on a good day.
So those volunteers got more than one kid, or do you just limit it to one?
Now, our working individuals, our working volunteers may come to me and say, hey, I can only take one child, I can only take one family, I work a full-time job, and that's fine. They ended up coming back a couple weeks later and saying they want another one because CASA, it gets addictive helping. But then we have our retired individuals. We have a lot of retired teachers that make amazing volunteers, and they may take 3 cases or 3 families, and that's multiple children.
Oh, wow. Okay. So, Joey, child abuse, neglect is a big problem in Calhoun County.
It is. I mean, unfortunately, it's something we just have to constantly combat, and a lot of things aren't seen, and it gets reported different ways, and we have to intervene, it's good that we have, organizations like this that can kind of step in and support those people. And you said families as well, so it's not just, they don't just support the child, they kind of support the family as a whole and kind of report back to the judge how things are going?
Yeah, we're going to recommend services for the entire family because most often it's best for our children to be placed back with their original caregivers, their family, their parents. And so offering those parents substance abuse intervention and counseling services, that's important for the child. And when reunification is not in the child's best interest, that's when we find other ways of permanency for the children.
Right. So
That's
good stuff.
Very helpful, yeah.
It is.
Now, are your volunteers, are they mandatory reporters in case something breaks and they
They are.
notice it? Okay.
We do go through the mandatory reporter training and often.
Yeah. So, parents, I've often said, are the cure, right?
They are.
So how often is that true in your business? Is that the truism too?
That the parents are the cure?
Yes.
I think when you hear child abuse case, you always think of the worst cases we can't say on TV, but the majority of our cases are substance abuse. I'd say 90% of the families that we work with, it's drugs. And so we have a lot of programs here in Calhoun County that work with our parents who have substance abuse issues, and if they can get better, then it's best for those children to remain in their home, and so therefore the parents are the cure. Early intervention for our parents in mental health, I believe, can combat some of those substance abuse issues, and then maybe we don't have a problem, which again, they would be the cure.
Early intervention. So, Joey, there's pregnant women who are using drugs who are charged with chemical endangerment of a child.
That's
right?
correct.
Do you guys get involved in that case after the child's born? Is that something that so what's your youngest child.
Birth.
You
Birth
have
is
kids that are just born.
Yes, if DHR is involved with that child when that child is born, we can be appointed through the court to advocate for the best interest of that child.
Wow, that's quite a responsibility, isn't it?
It is. It is.
And
We go all the way up to 21.
21.
Birth to 21. A child can stay in care until they're 21 years old.
That's really great, and
Yes.
you know that advocacy, that overriding kind of case management, is a program that Family Links was looking at many years ago in getting kids prior to 3rd grade and getting a case manager involved with that family to help them make some corrective action and doing that holistic evaluation. So
Right.
you guys are doing that, and that's great. And you're doing it. You only work with kids in the family court system, is that right?
Correct. Only JU cases, only children who have been child abuse and neglect victims.
So other than that difference, how are you guys different than, say, Big Brothers Big Sisters?
Big Brothers Big Sisters, fantastic organization. They don't work through court appointment orders. So when we get involved in a family, it's because one of those judges has added us as a party, has given us a court order that gives us the ability to enter into that child's juvenile case, which is otherwise private.
So y'all have, y'all kind of have the judge's ear about where the progression is on should reunite with the family or the family's doing well, and at some point I'm sure the goal is to step out of that
Correct.
situation, right, and let the family continue as a whole.
Right, so when the child's case goes to court, that judge is hearing from the DHR worker who is incredibly invested but overworked. They're hearing from that child's attorney. They're hearing from the parents and the parents' attorney. And then they get to hear from this volunteer, which is really, really cool. And that volunteer can say, hey, did you know this girl loves cheerleading? Did you know her favorite color is pink and she really misses her mommy? Did you know that this child needs this? And so it's just one of those approaches from just a regular old person, a common sense approach of what's in that child's best interest. And that judge weighs that volunteer's recommendation with the other parties that they have in front of them.
You know, a lot of times when I was working at the sheriff's office, and Joey knows this, we get calls in the middle of the night, kids, we have to call DHR on call. If that child is under one of your volunteers, one of your cases, does DHR know how to get in touch with you guys to say, hey, you know, the law enforcement's out here, there's been a domestic violence situation, we are here again with this child? Do they have somebody, they know how to get a hold of your people?
Absolutely. So we don't work for DHR, but we definitely work with DHR. Those DHR workers are our friends. And when something happens, no matter if they tell us first or we tell them first, we're working hand in hand. And the really cool thing about a CASA volunteer, which I hear from families and foster parents and counselors and whoever's working with that child, is the CASA volunteer is the one picking up the phone. It doesn't matter if it's 3 p.m. or 3 a.m. That CASA volunteer is answering the phone and being there for that child.
Well, you know, we always encouraged our deputies to have a relationship with DHR caseworkers. It sounds like we need to start building relationships with CASA.
I think that the key, and you mentioned the cure is us all coming together. We're all working for the same children. We're not working against each other. It's all about our organizations knowing each other exists and coming together and working together.
Well, Laura, thanks for being on the show. Give us the website one more time.
CheahaCasa.org.
CheahaCasa.org. Thank you, very informative. And we're going to be back with our Crime Stoppers portion, and Joey's going to tell us about a crazy criminal here on Calhoun County's Most Wanted. Welcome to the Crime Stoppers portion of our show, where we ask your help on the following cases. First up, on May 7th, someone pried open the gas door on a 2006 Honda Pilot at a residence on Pine Ridge Road in Wellington. And between May 6th and May 7th, 202 Polaris Razor 1000 by 4 was stolen from a residence on Fish Hatchery Road in East Aboga. And on May 6th, the window to a residence on Livingston Lane in Anniston was shattered by an unknown person or an unknown object. That's it for our Crime Stoppers cases. If you have any information on these cases, please call Crime Stoppers. That number 1-833-251-7867.
Stupid! You're so stupid!
So Joey, are you a friend of the Mary Poppins film? Are you familiar with that?
I know the film,
You know the
yes.
film? So
Yes.
Chim Chim Cheree.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So that's your crazy criminal, isn't it?
It is. So
There he is. Looks
Yeah.
just like Dick Van Dyke.
that's right. So
Well, tell us about this guy.
So, criminals are always, they're trying to be innovative as, like any other profession, I guess,
Sure.
And so.
CEUs, they have to be.
Exactly. So they got to be crafty and try to find new ways to break into places. So this individual decided he wanted to go down the chimney of a residence to break in. Well, chimneys are tight, So he ends up getting stuck, and he has to call 911 to come get him out.
Wait, how did he call 911 if he's stuck?
I guess he could get to at least get to his phone. Everybody's got to have a phone, John.
Well, I can see that.
So
I just can't see how he might be able to reach it.
He had a little soot on his face in his mugshot.
Was he like upside down? You think?
Nah, he looks like he went down. He's got a rope. He's got a pulley. He
climbing down.
Yeah, he climbed on down and got stuck. Probably getting out of the chimney. So
probably got
at the
stuck
fireplace.
At the fireplace where the chimney kind of.
So got to be. I guess the chimney is clean now.
The chimney would be very clean now.
So that's a benefit.
Nice sweeper there,
Yeah.
and he's already probably got a little bit of an apprentice thing going for being a professional chimney sweep.
So.
I wonder how the fire department did who called the law after that?
He called the law. I mean, he called 911. So.
Well, I'm stuck in a chimney. Breaking into a house is probably not what he said. He probably said, I'm stuck in my chimney.
That very well
hoping
could
that
be
the fire department would get there and go, what are you doing? And let him go. I wonder how they got him out.
I don't know.
It's a lot of grease.
Or had to tear it up, one of the two.
Ooh.
I guess that's what restitution's for.
Good luck with that. Okay, Joey, so Sheriff's Office, we always promote hiring, right?
Absolutely. We're always looking for people. We have slots open in corrections. We have slots open as deputy sheriffs. So there's several different ways you can apply. You can go on our website, download an application, and submit it over our website. We have an app. It says careers. If you go to our app, you can go to careers and you can submit it right over there. It comes to you and we'll set you up an interview. So.
Outstanding. So go to the Sheriff's Office and apply, and we will see you here next week on Calhoun County's Most Wanted.